Well, good evening, Internet, and as always, I do hope this finds you well. Tonight, we are talking about the P word. Yes, practice. Okay, so a very common thing I find is students will come to their lesson and the first thing they will do is they will apologise for not having had enough time to practice. And it's easy to find, to sort of take that as something to be annoyed by, to be irritated by. It's easy to think, well, why have you bothered coming to your lesson if you hadn't bothered to practice? Well, of course, the point is they come to the lesson because they want to learn the guitar. They want to learn to play the guitar. If they haven't had enough time to practice, that is almost certainly not their fault. In the real world, we do not control every element of our lives. We do not control when a child gets sick, or meetings go over time, or overtime has to be worked. These elements are not always in our control, and for me as a guitar teacher to then try and shame my student is not the way to go. If you've only got 5 or 10 minutes to practice, it's my job to help you get the most out of those 5 or 10 minutes. When I've asked students before to be honest with me about how often they have to practice, it usually takes a couple of goes because they'll want to tell me what they think I want to hear, that they can spend an hour every day practicing. That is unlikely to be true. It's likely they wish it was true, but it's unlikely to be actually true. So if you only have 5 minutes to practice, it is my job not to criticise you or shame you for not having more time than that. It's my job to help you get the most out of those 5 minutes. Now, can you improve at the guitar with only 5 minutes? If you're a beginner, yes. If you're an intermediate or advanced player, well, no, realistically, no, you can't. But you still can do something, and something is better than nothing. So let's look at how we might go about structuring something like a 5-minute practice session. So, let's say that you've got an exam coming up and your free time is limited because you've got to spend basically every waking moment revising. Let's say that you're very busy with a work project, you're going to have no free time over the next coming month, but you don't want to just quit the guitar. So how can you make the most of a practice session that does not involve a lot of time? Well, let's talk about some basic principles here. So the first thing that you need to do is set yourself a goal. And this goal needs to be limited, it needs to be achievable. So something like a chord change or a simple song if you're a beginner, something like a specific lick or riff or a song section if you're a little bit more advanced. Don't go setting yourself the idea that, I'm going to learn this Dream Theater song 5 minutes at a time over the course of a month. That's like the kind of idiot who decides he's going to spend a month learning Al Holdsworth licks. Yeah. And I would also say that you should have 2 to 3 of these small achievable goals. You want to be able to rotate them, but you also don't want to have so many goals that your aims become diffuse, that you end up trying to go in every direction at once and achieve nothing. One goal, it can feel a little bit like a slog at times. It can feel a little bit like you're banging your head against a brick wall. A dozen goals, you ain't going to get anywhere. Pick 2 or 3. That way, if you've got 5 minutes every day, you can rotate them around and you're going to be getting each one at least twice a week, with only a couple of days gap in between them. And that gap can be useful for the knowledge to bed in. And as I say, it can stop you feeling like you're just banging your head against a brick wall doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. A little bit of variety will help keep you sane. Okay, so now we've got a set of goals for the month, and let's work out how we can best use our 5 minutes. So, first thing I would suggest is you always want to do a little bit of a warm-up. You should think about allocating maybe 30 to 45 seconds. If you're new to the guitar, if you're on my 0 point program, for example, you'll be wanting to do an exercise like this, or one of its variants like this, or this. You should pick one of those variations and you should rotate it. So Monday you go, Tuesday you go, and Wednesday you go. then Thursday you're back to. And as I say, that's going to keep things fresh. That's going to mean you do still get some technical development, still get the fingers working up, but you're not spending all your time doing warm-ups. If you're on the intermediate level, you're probably going to want to try some of these finger pairs, but probably no more than 2 or 3. And again, rotate them around. Don't always just do 1 and 2, just because it's easy. The easy ones are the ones you need to do least. Spend a little bit of time going slowly, getting the harder ones right, and that's going to do you a lot more good. Or if you're on more advanced warm-up, you'll probably be looking at something like this. So let's say Monday you do that 1, 2 and 4. Tuesday you'll go 1, 3 and 4. Wednesday you might go 1, 2 and 4 stretch. And Thursday you're 1, 3 and 4 stretch. So now we've warmed up, the fingers are engaged. Let's go over a little bit of basic fretboard knowledge. Always good to have a little bit of overlap, I think, between the last session and the current session. So let's say if you're at a more basic introductory level, it's a good idea just to run through those open chords. Make sure that no bad habits have crept into the fretting. If you're a little bit further on, it's a good job to do a little bit of fretboard knowledge. Pick a note on the chromatic scale. Don't pick more than one. Just pick one note. Let's say D, and then if you want to, you can stick a metronome on for this. I would, but my phone's on charge over there. Let's say I'm going to pick a D. I'm going to find that D note. And then I'm going to find D chord, D minor chord, D power chord, and maybe you want to get a little bit more advanced, play a 12-bar blues in D. Maybe you're working on a particular scale, so if you're a little bit more advanced, let's say you're working on a 3-note per string D major scale. And you might play that straight up and down, might play it in 3s. Fours. So now we've got the point where the brain is engaged, the fingers engaged. Now it's time to tackle the new scary thing. And so you would initially start by tackling it in isolation and then gradually putting some more context around it. So let's say you're a beginner. Let's say you're doing Highway to Hell. And a common thing that messes up beginners is having to play from the D on the downstroke of beat 4 to the G on the upstroke, the offbeat of 4, the AND. So what you might do then is set your timer for, let's say, 30 to 40 seconds and just practice D on the downstroke, G on the upstroke, and then gradually put that into a little bit more context. 1, 2, 3. So now I'm just doing that bar. Again, 30 to 40 seconds on that, then I'll go and put the entire riff together. 2, 3. Maybe if you're playing, working on a particular lead lick, let's say something like I might then go and try and play that with some context around it, a little bit 2 bars on, 2 bars off. And then that's gradually going to work into your playing. And then once you've done that, well, you're ready for PUD. By which I mean play something fun, finish on a high. So if you're a beginner, then just play through a song you can play well. Something simple from the early days. Whereas if you're a little bit further on, a little bit more developed, you might want to stick on a backing track and just jam to that for a minute or so. Whatever you enjoy doing, the idea here is that you put the guitar down and you are actively looking forward to picking it back up again. And I would add another note onto the end of that, which is morale. Now, it's easy to feel like you're plateauing. It's easy to feel like you're not getting anywhere. We've all had moments like that. One of the best things I can suggest for that is to go back 4, 5, 6 months to stuff that used to challenge you back then, play it through now and see how much easier you find it. Because each of these practice sessions is a grain of sand, but they mount up. And 6 months of practice sessions, you've got a fair old bit of sand there. So there we go then. I will try not to waffle too much, and we'll leave things there. I think hopefully that's been of use to you. Hopefully that's shown that you can just practice for little short bursts, and it's always better to do something than nothing. Pick up the guitar for 5 minutes and just have a little bit of a noodle, and you can still make some improvements. It's always going to be better to pick that thing up than it is to just leave it sat there in the case. So if you can't devote an hour or half an hour or whatever it is, don't feel bad. Just play what you can. It's always going to be better than not playing. You're always going to feel better for it. And as I say, for me as a teacher, it behoves me to give you the best plan to help you do the best you can with the time you've got. I can't force you to make time. We're not all Steve Vai who can practice for 12 hours a day. We're not all Zach Wilde who can practice all night and then sleep all day at school. For all of us out in the real world, practice time is limited. It is always at a premium. It always comes at the cost of something else. So hopefully this video has given you a little bit of an idea about how to get the best out of that. So I'll leave things there. Please do remember, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you Friday for the 1 minute lick. I'll see you later. All right.